Hello out there. Happy Friday to you, Saturday, if you're in the Pacific Islands or Eastern Asia. This is Awakening to Love. All right. This is A Course in Miracles 365, Awakening to Love. And I'm Tomas Garza, your host. I said the subtitle at the beginning because I like it so much. Yeah, isn't that fun? Okay, very cool. Well, I hope that everybody's having a beautiful day here. And thank you, as always, for tuning in. I've got a lot of energy behind today's idea, which is lesson 168 in the workbook for students. Well, when do I not have some energy behind today's idea? Yeah, this is going to be fun, and we'll talk about that in a moment. I want to just give everyone a moment to hop on here on the live stream today. And we've been covering some very in-depth subjects here. So I always want to make sure that you know that your questions are welcome here. Always, always, without exception. There is no such thing on the spiritual path as a question that does not belong. There is no such thing as a dumb question, a ridiculous question, a question that's too beginner-y, nothing like that. You know, those are the questions that should be asked, because there might be somebody that's been a practitioner of a certain tradition for over a decade, 20 years, 30 years, who would benefit from the most basic question. Oh yeah. I spent some time several years ago studying Buddhism, specifically the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, with Lama Michael Conklin in Portland, Oregon. And there were certain things that we always did, such as walking into a shrine room and prostrating and giving a body, speech, mind gesture from Buddhism, if you know that. If you're familiar with that, there are certain ritual acts that went along with going in and taking our seat in the shrine room. And there was always a question and answer period after meditation. Anyway, one day a woman came in and asked the question that none of us that had been practicing for years had ever dared to ask Lama Michael. We just sort of did it, the procedure for entering the shrine room, without really knowing why. And she just piped up during the Q&A session and said, "What is all of this ritual entry? Why are we doing this? What does it mean? What's the significance of that?" And Michael said something that I thought was very brilliant. And he just smiled to himself. And then he said, "Well," to the woman, "you should come more often." Love that. Brilliant response, right? You should come more often, rather than, "Oh, what a beginner question." So it goes to show that on the path, we really should ask these fundamental, deep level questions. It's quite beautiful when we do. And on a forum like this, a global live stream, you never know who's going to benefit from your desire, from your courage to ask what's on your mind. That's what I'm here for, guys, is to assist. I am here as a teacher, as a coach, to help you along the way. And nothing more than that, and certainly nothing less than that. So this is a designated space, safe space, for some dialogue. If you've got questions, please feel welcome to ask them, and I'm happy to answer those for you. And if you're catching me on the replay, type them in anyway. I'll answer those. Yeah, it's a very wonderful thing, and I love when we're able to get that kind of interaction. And if all you do watching this is just pipe in and say hello, and hello from wherever you're joining me from here today, that's cool too. That in and of itself is a lot of fun. I've got the stream up right now. So I'm going to talk about the day's idea, lesson 168 in the workbook, and I'll be able to see your comments hopping on here live. All right. So the idea for today is lesson 168. Again, we're going through with some very deep and very profound, and my hope for you, uplifting and encouraging ideas. Lesson 168 is your grace is given me. I claim it now. All right. Your grace is given me. I claim it now. Your grace, God's grace, is given me. I claim it now. Think about the power for a second of just that statement. If you were to look at nothing else, there are several paragraphs of commentary that follow here in the workbook, as well as always, some suggestions for practice. Sometimes it comes in the form of a suggested meditation, a suggested what the course calls practice periods. Sometimes it's in the form of a prayer that's very powerful to say and to recite, and those are in italics. Every workbook lesson has different commentary, and you can always read that. However, if you were to take nothing else from that, then contemplating and sitting with the idea, it's very powerful. 2 sentences, your grace is given me. We have it. We have access to it. And the second sentence, I claim it now. Claim, I acknowledge, I accept, I act on this, and I claim it. It is mine to claim. When? Now. Not when your physical body peters out and dies. We don't have to wait for that. Now, is that not encouraging to you that we do not have to wait possibly decades, hopefully decades, right, to experience the death of the physical body in order to access heaven? The grace of God is available to us right now. It has always been given us, and we can make the decision right now to claim it. What's going on here is that God is constantly speaking to us. Right? Isn't he? He's constantly, God's constantly speaking to us. And, well, not necessarily in the language of your choice, not necessarily in Spanish, French, English, whatever languages you speak. This broadcast is primarily in English, so it's not necessarily in the language that we use here in the world. It can be in the way of feelings. It can be in the way of things that we appear to see or hear or touch, taste, that deliver us a message that we just understand. Now, this communication that flows naturally from God to the thought of God, in other words, the Son of God, us, God's creation, communication flows naturally and uninterruptedly. It's uninterrupted. Now, what happens is when we identify with the ego, we run and hide. We block ourselves off to this constant love, to this constant flow. However, because that's all God is and does, God being love, simply extends itself. It's never gone anywhere as we've run off to hide in these physical bodies, in the world, behind all of our degrees of complication, behind all of our labels of countries that we're from, continents, our gender, man, woman, right? All of that. The reality of who we are has never left us. And it's beyond all of those labels, beyond language, even. So God is always speaking to us, always has been. Shall we not speak to him? Shall we not ask for the grace of God? Shall we not ask for the peace of God? Shall we not ask, really, shall we not ask for joy and true abundance? Shall we not ask for happiness? Shall we not ask for forgiveness, love, limitlessness, boundlessness, total and complete, uninterrupted joy? Shall we not ask for this? And I hope that you may be answering to yourself, yes, of course we should ask for it. Good answer. Very good answer. Yeah, of course we should ask for this. We can. The way A Course in Miracles depicts our walk and our process is we're in the midst of purifying and lightening our own perception. We perceive ourselves as separate and cut off, and through the practice of these exercises, through the practice specifically of forgiveness, we begin to see things as they really are. Now, ultimately, there is no perception because there's no subject of, a seer, right, an observer, and there's nothing to be observed. All right, there's no subject or object. What we can do with our perception and A Course in Miracles and any spiritual path will lead us there, is that we can see things as they really are and take our perception and make it as real as possible. And then in the language of the Course, God takes the final step himself, leans toward us, and once our perception is perfectly real, once it's perfectly, I don't know if you want to use the word purified, or we see what the Course refers to as the real world, then we're ready for that last step, which we don't take. God takes it. We simply enter into what the Course calls communion, which is not a ritual in a church with some tasteless wafers and grape juice. I wonder if anyone has experience with that. I bet some of you do. Yeah. It's not communion in that sense. It's the way God simply is and communicates with God's creation. So we then enter into that automatically once our perception has been cleaned, and once it's been purified, once we have seen things as they really are. This is the journey that each and every one of us is on, and we can hasten the awakening, right? Our awakening. We can hasten it by asking for the grace of God, by asking for the peace of God. Why not ask for it? So if it's prayer, if this is a devotional, if this is meditation for you, ask, and you are answered. We are answered. We could choose to ignore the answer, which is what happens when we pray and don't have anything happen, apparently, is we're ignoring the answers. And if you pray for a new Mercedes-Benz, then you may or may not get that. That's not what it's about, right? The answer is always there. It's always given. It's up to us to accept it. So we must put ourselves in a place where we are receptive. We're able to receive. This is very much about receiving the grace of God, the gifts of God, which are given to us automatically, always have been. They're always there for us to ask for. They're always there for us to claim. When? Now. Right now. All right, yes. So as always, feel welcome to pop on here with questions. And hello, hello. Looks like we've got Renee who's joining us. Thank you for tuning in here today. And well, I don't know if this is Monsi Mendes. I don't know if you're still watching. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your first name correctly or not, but welcome and thank you for tuning in to this live stream. I absolutely would love to hear from all of you, and thank you for sharing this live stream. This is something that at Enlightened World Network we really appreciate, because we offer these live streams. I offer this pretty much 6 days a week because I want to, and we aim to create a global community of people that are involved in spiritual practice, that care about spiritual practice, and that you're on the path. So if you know of people that this would no doubt benefit, feel welcome to hit the share button here. We would greatly appreciate that. And all of your comments, likes, hearts, anything like that. So I will be back here tomorrow, and we're going through again the workbook for students. Each idea is very powerful, and no matter what your spiritual tradition or background, you will find something of value on these live streams. Why? Because the course is universal. It's presenting universal principles that apply to every single living thing, without exception. All right, so I'm here for your questions if you've got them. And thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day.